Hey guys, it's Cassidy Fletcher, the producer of VIBELAND Sports. I just wanted to apologize for not having an episode out last week. We had some major technical difficulties, thought we had lost the entire episode, but we were able to go ahead and recover it. So that is why this episode is so late. You can look for the next episode of VIBELAND Sports tomorrow in your feed, but wanted to go ahead and get this thing out for you guys, even though it is a week late. So without further ado, here's episode 35.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of VIBELAND Sports. I am not Todd Miller, but doing my best impression of him. This is Kelby and Casady and Josh here this evening. Todd couldn't make it in tonight. Prior engagements were in the way, so understandable. So we're going to see if we can sail this ship without him and do our best as we kick off episode 35 here. Got a lot to talk about, multiple topics here. Well, before we get into it, guys, how's everything going?
Pretty good, man. Excited to, have another week of VIBELAND Sports here, even without our trusty captain, Todd.
Absolutely. He'll be missed tonight. And Josh is going to help us out a little bit tonight, too. Josh, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good. Feels good to be behind the mic, step up a level from the internship.
There you go. Absolutely.
Heck yeah,
Moving
man.
on up in the world.
Right.
So, guys, we've got a lot to talk about, but I think before we get into it, I think we should probably start off with breaking news. Sorry to throw a curveball already, but as we sit here tonight, college basketball season has started. And, I'm not going to lie, guys, being an Oklahoma State fan, college basketball, some years it does it for me, some years it doesn't. And, good players, big-time names are guys that are fun to watch. And I was just telling you guys, to me, my favorite thing about college basketball is March Madness and recruiting. And unfortunately, for a while, Oklahoma State, we haven't had fun with either of those. But I just screamed a few minutes ago because Oklahoma State just got a commitment from the number 2 prospect in the 2020 class, Cade Cunningham, 5-star recruit. Like, that's as good as it gets. That's the biggest get this program has ever gotten out of high school. Highest ranked player, I'm sure. I don't need to look that up. I know that's a fact. Just blows my mind, guys. I am so excited about this.
Yeah, and that's the kind of player that can return Oklahoma State to the basketball dominance years that we saw a lot during Eddie Sutton's reign.
Exactly. He can bring the rowdy back to Gallagher-Iba. I think he will. That's huge news. The fans, we got to roll out and support this team and this kid. And props to Mike Boynton. So, little backstory if you guys don't know about Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham's got an older brother that's a basketball coach. Cade Cunningham's older brother just so happened to recently get a job with Oklahoma State. And Cade, in his recruiting, or in his commitment video, at the very end, he said something I thought was very interesting. One thing I didn't like, one thing that I thought was very interesting. He said, I was this close to switching to another school. And for the listeners at home, this close, he was holding up the little inch marks on his hand. I was this close to choosing another school. But at the end of the day, blood is thicker than water. He unveiled a shirt, go Pokes. His brother's a coach at Oklahoma State. He said blood is thicker than water. I think Mike Boynton, that was the best hire that he's ever had in his life. In his short career at Oklahoma State, by far and above, that's the best hire he's ever had because that just landed him the number 2 recruit. I am fired up, guys. Now, we got to wait another season, but college basketball does kick off tonight, Duke and Kansas. I'm looking forward to, like I said, March Madness this year. It's college basketball kind of, for me, doesn't really kick off until after the new year, after college football's over. So,
Yes.
A lot to watch this year. We'll see how these recruiting classes turn out. Kentucky, Kansas, they're always interesting to watch, but we'll see. So let's get into what was on the agenda tonight. First things first, the Nats and Astros World Series is over, and I got to give it up to my buddy Casady over here because I kind of got cocky last week. Todd got cocky last week. They said, Kelby, what a great job. You look like you picked the World Series right. Astros in 6. Well, I was wrong, and somebody on this podcast picked the Nationals in 7, and that's what it was. So I got to give props over to Casady over there for seeing the future.
Hey, I appreciate it. I don't know. There's something about the Nationals were the hottest team in October, And that means a lot. In fact, it was the complete opposite of the way that I thought it was going to happen. I thought they were going to have a slow start because they'd had such a gap between the NLCS and the World Series. But when they went out and won those first two on the road, I was just thinking, oh, gosh, maybe I didn't give them enough credit. They're going to sweep them. Then we saw the Astros come roaring back. They win 3 in a row at Nationals Stadium. And just, I mean, shut them down. We were talking about that last week. They put up a whole 3 runs at home.
Exactly.
In the entire homestand. And then first time in American sports history.
American sports.
That's crazy that the first 6 games were all won by the visiting team. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but so now because they won all 7. Yeah, all 7 games. Every game in the series was won by the away team. That's never happened, and that's what's fun about like the momentum of this series. Just kept shifting back and forth. The Nationals are up 2-0. People are saying sweep. The Astros go back and win 3 in a row. There's no way they lose. They're so hot right now. There's no way they can lose on the 4th night, and then they do. But yeah. What an awesome series. Congratulations to the Nationals. And you made an excellent point earlier, Casady. The Nationals, this didn't seem like the team that would have won them the World Series. They have had some great teams over the last decade or so building around Harper. Like you mentioned earlier, the year they shut down Strasburg, which I believe was 7 years ago, so that would have been 2012, I believe, was they were best team in the National League that year.
Easily.
And they shut down their best pitcher because of his injury history, and they just had an inning limit on him. A lot of people criticized them for that. I thought it was the wrong move at the time, and it looked like the wrong move for a long time. And here we are 7 years later, the year after Harper leaves. So that's the most impressive stat to me is that, the common person would have thought Harper leaves, it's time to start rebuilding. Well, the Nationals said, no, we're going to dig our cleats in, and we're going to just go ahead and go and win a World Series without our superstar.
And they did it, I mean, in a really just interesting way. Again, I thought they started out very similar to the Red Sox this season. I was watching them in the National League and thinking, like, we are in the same boat here. Both teams had pretty decent expectations, but again, the Nationals much lower because you just lost Harper. You don't know what you're going to see from that lineup. But both teams were terrible. The Nationals were 19-31 through their first 50. But since May 24th, they had the best record in the major leagues. So whatever they did from May on, those last 112-plus postseason games that they played, that was some of the best baseball that anybody played all year. And so it took them a while to figure it out and to get on the right foot. But once they did, my goodness, they certainly carried that momentum throughout the entire season, had a very strong closing to even get into the playoffs where a wild card had to fight their way all the way through. And again, you don't have home field advantage in the World Series, and you come out and lose all 3 games at home and still win the thing. Just a huge victory for the Nationals, that whole franchise, that whole city. I mean, honestly, for their sports teams, they had the Caps win not too long ago.
Yeah, a couple years ago, yeah.
And so, other than that, that's about really all they've really seen as that Capitals win. And so, props to them as well and to all their fans. I know that it was a very hard-fought victory, and it was just a really fun series to watch ultimately, especially those last 2 games.
Absolutely. And yeah, like you said, the Nationals, nobody would have predicted them to win the World Series before the season started. I think you had the Red Sox repeating. I think Todd had, I want to say the Yankees or the Astros. I had the Astros. Mm-hmm. So nobody thought the Nationals were going to do anything this year. So for them to make the run that they went on, win it all, you got to give props to them. Got to give props to the city of D.C. From what I've been hearing, they've been calling it Washington, D.C., the District of Champions with the Nationals and the Caps a couple years back. Well, Caps were not this past season, but the season before that, they won it all. So I don't know if you'd call that a couple years or not. But anyway, and it's been cool to see, like, those two teams, like the hockey team and the baseball team, they've been hanging out and partying together and celebrating together. So it's been kind of cool to watch the Capitals and the Nationals. They're buddies and enjoying the celebration for sure.
That video, if you haven't seen it, then you need to go look it up. But it's it's all the baseball team right around like on a Zamboni.
Yeah.
At the Caps
with their
game.
shirts off, right?
Yes, yeah.
Holding the trophy.
Was fantastic.
That was awesome. Yeah. So yeah, DC's on fire right now. just got to bring him back down to earth and remind him, hey, don't worry, you got the rest of the NFL season to watch. With your Redskins. Well, hey, two out of 3 is pretty good.
Wizards.
Everybody else, and basketball too. Yeah, yikes. I mean, to have 2 out of 4, some of us are lucky to have 1 out of 4, and some of us are lucky to have 1 out of 1 here in Oklahoma City, which is just the Thunder to watch. But let's get into the NFL. Not a lot happened over the weekend, guys. I watched the Monday night Cowboys game. I loved the Cowboys' performance. The black cat that ran on the field during the game, that was, I think, a good omen for bad omen for the Giants, good omen for the Cowboys. We took all the Halloween luck we could get.
Nobody wanted to touch that thing, by the way.
Yeah, no, that was interesting. Me and my wife were watching it. We were just kind of... Normally people would chase after. We went to a minor league game here, the Dodgers in Oklahoma City, and a cat got on the field. And I'm telling you, they had every staff member chase it, and it was the funniest thing in the world because nobody could get it. The cat ended up getting away. The crowd cheered. The poor people on the field were out of breath. It was hilarious to watch. But in the NFL game, nobody chased this cat down. It was wild. But anyway, like I said, we're talking more about a cat on the field than the actual football game. The Cowboys dominated. Nothing really to talk about there. Zeke had an amazing game, I thought. No touchdowns to show for it. Dak did all right. Threw a pick on the first pass of the game, but other than that, not much to talk about there. He had a great game. Jason Witten continues to kill the Giants. But what I really wanted to talk about in the NFL was something we had a poll question about earlier this year. We had a poll question. We said, what is more likely to happen?
Yes.
Patriots go 16-0, or the Dolphins go 0-16, or both? If I remember correctly, I believe the answer was both. The majority of our fans selected that, as did myself and Casady. I think you're on that boat. Well,
yeah,
that's done. The Pats lose this weekend, and the Dolphins win, beat the Jets. What do you think about that?
The Jets out-Dolphined the Dolphins.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are trying to lose this thing, and they can't. That's how – I don't even know if you call that bad or what.
It's how comical it is. That's the team that they're trying to tank, and they lose to the other one-win team in the NFL. Them and the Bengals, that's who you don't want beating you.
Jeez.
Because you guys are all fighting for that same number 1 pick. But, yeah, and again, back to the Cowboys, how bad does that Jets loss look now? Their
Awful.
1 win is against the Dallas Cowboys. Embarrassing to say. But, yeah, the Patriots lose to the Ravens. I liked the game. I'm not – if the Patriots – you don't sound the alarms. You just say, hey, Lamar Jackson played a great game tonight. I'm not going to get as high on him as Chris Collinsworth was, saying Chris Collinsworth was calling the game. I love Chris Collinsworth, for the record. But
I'm a fan. Yeah.
I love him and Al Michaels. I love that combo. Sunday Night Football is better than Monday Night Football.
Period.
It's
hands down.
Yeah, it's kind of a joke now, Monday Night Football. But anyways, Collinsworth was saying, this is the game you're going to remember and look back on for the next 5 years in the NFL that changed the course of the NFL history because of Lamar Jackson. Now, don't get me wrong. He's a transcending quarterback. There are going to be franchises that go look for guys like Lamar Jackson. They're just not growing on trees. There's not another Lamar Jackson out there. He's a once in a generation type player, and that's what it's going to take to beat the Patriots.
And it's funny that you see all these tweets now that are surfacing when he was in college, people saying they should just go ahead and switch him to running back now or switch him to wide receiver now because that's what he's going to play in the NFL. There's no way he's going to make it as a quarterback. Like, he can't throw, all this stuff. And then he just goes out and picks apart maybe the best defense historically I mean, that we had seen through 8 weeks or whatever we were at in NFL history. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about the other day, the Patriots defense had outscored their offenses, and they came in and he just ran all over them, did whatever he wanted. He was a problem, and I think that's going to be something that if you see this matchup again in like an an AFC championship game, I don't know. I think that could be very interesting because now how do the Patriots slow down Jackson if they have to play him again down the road?
I mean,
Belichick's going to have plenty of tape, and they've got
tape on him now. Yeah,
but still, that's a again
order.
No alarm bells ringing because I still think that the Patriots are again historically good on defense, but I think that just shows how good Lamar Jackson is and how good of a game he had. But props to that whole Baltimore Ravens team right now. They are just rolling,
and they're fun to watch too. It's like watching a college team in the NFL, which is why I say they're fun to watch. They're running looks like our triple option. They're running that pistol, faking it to Ingram, and Lamar Jackson just, oh my gosh, his scrambling ability. That play that he had where he just jukes out like 3 guys and then he pushes his lineman into the guy in front of him, the pancake a guy. Like, he's just so fun to watch. He's a human highlight reel.
Just next level stuff.
Absolutely. So, yeah, Casady, if you want to, let's go over the poll question last week. You kind of mentioned it, what we asked about. So let's jump into that.
Absolutely. So the question last week was, what's the most impressive feat through the first half of the NFL season? The answers were the Saints 5-0 record with no Drew Brees, the 49ers 7-0 start, or the Pats defensive dominance. And again, just mentioned that the Patriots defense has scored more touchdowns than the opponent offenses had leading into that game against the Ravens. But the winner of the poll question was the Saints going 5-0 with no Drew Brees. That won 48% of the vote. 49ers 7-0 start, just 14%, and the Pats defensive dominance 38% right there. So not too shabby.
Not too surprising for me there. I mean, that's what I voted for. Is that the Saints? It's just so impressive that when your starting quarterback goes down, a lot of things changed, and the Saints didn't miss a beat. So that's just crazy impressive. And I think, speaking of changing the course of the NFL, I think teams are going to rethink their backup quarterback situations in the future.
Yes, highest paid backup quarterback in the league, and it
worth every
paid
penny.
Off. Absolutely, they're in position to win the NFC right now because of
because
backup.
They didn't miss a beat when their superstar franchise quarterback went down.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Fame, yes.
I mean, it's just crazy. But Saints have been on a roll. They're still, with as soon as Drew Brees gets back to full health, that team's going to be scary come playoff time. But that leads me into the next VIBELAND Sports fan poll question of the week. The one for this coming week is, does Chuba Hubbard deserve to be a Heisman finalist? Yes or no? Shifting gears a little bit here into college football, but Kelby, I think you may have a little bit to say about Chuba and his Heisman prospects.
I've got some thoughts. Earlier in the year, I said it was, too early to talk about it, and we're probably still a little early talking about it. We're barely halfway through the season, so I think it's okay to talk about it now, though, because it's starting to rattle me the wrong way that, the big national people aren't bringing him up. In the polls you see, he's not in the top 4. And, I believe he deserves to be in the top 4. You look at the players up there, they're all on, top 10 teams. So
quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks, and then the defensive end from Ohio State that's just tearing it up, which if Chuba's not on there, give it to a defensive player. I want to throw a wrinkle in there. Do something different. Give it to somebody different than a quarterback or a number 1, number 2 team running back. Just because we're 6-3 doesn't mean he doesn't deserve a shot. Because let me tell you some stats about Chuba. So this weekend was really where I turned the corner on him, where I'm going out on the limb. I'm ready to make some arguments. I'm ready to look like a Homer OSU fan in my points that I want to make about Chuba based on what he did this weekend to TCU's defense. Gary Patterson is an excellent defensive coach. And TCU is an excellent defensive team. They're known for that. Gary Patterson's team has never given up 200 rushing yards to a running back, ever. Chuba did that on Saturday. TCU had never, here, one more thing. Chuba put up more yards in the second half of this game, 192, than any other running back has in a full game against TCU. So Chuba's second half was better than any running back's performance against a Gary Patterson TCU defense in the history of his tenure there.
That's impressive.
That's just his second half. So pretend he didn't play the first half. He just sat the first 2 quarters, came out and played the third and fourth, just had the highest performing day of any running back against a Gary Patterson team.
And it's not like there haven't been some really good running backs come through the Big 12 in the last couple decades.
No, absolutely not. there's been studs come through here. So again, Saturday, you can make the argument he gets a lot of carries. I think we used him great. 20 carries, a measly 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. So another thing I want to point out, Gary Patterson's teams very rarely give up 100 yards to a rusher, let alone 150 yards to a rusher. Chuba, on his 2 touchdowns, accounted for he had a 92-yarder touchdown and a 61-yarder. So he had 153 yards on both of his touchdown carries. So the majority of the yardage came from that. And I'll tell you, I watched the replay on the 92-yarder. He didn't get touched. We had the ball on the 8-yard line. It's tied 17-17, third quarter. What do? Hand it off to Chuba. He takes it up the middle, untouched, 92 yards. That guy is a track star on the football field, and it is awesome to watch as a Cowboy fan. He is going to go down as one of the all-time greatest running backs ever to play at Oklahoma State. And I didn't think I'd be saying that before this season. He's going to go down. I mean, nobody's ever going to top Barry. That's
right.
And if you're top Barry at OSU, that means you've topped Barry.
Period.
Yeah. And there's only maybe 1 to 2 people that can say that. And you're making a face at me. Might not be 1 to 2 people that can say that.
Depending on when he was in his prime, I still think Barry was the best to ever do it.
Absolutely.
And that's coming from a diehard OU fan. So
in college and in the NFL, Barry still, I would think, he has the best season in the history of college football, the '88 season. But anyway, so Chuba, again, he's the nation's leading rusher. The guy that's second place behind Chuba is still 318 yards behind Chuba.
Jeez.
Chuba's ran for 200 plus 4 times this year. I mean, the stats are incredible. The numbers are incredible. And another good point about why I turned the corner this weekend is because of the terrible news that we got this week that we haven't even brought up yet. Tylan Wallace, torn ACL, done for the season.
Yeah.
Possibly and probably done for his career at OSU because I think his draft stock is as high as it's going to get. Come back. I think he needs to get healthy and go get his money, if I'm being honest. And so the rumor mill was high this week with the Tylan Wallace news. So before I get off on that, the point I want to make is that Tylan being out, TCU knew, okay, this is going to be a hand the ball to Chuba game. They loaded the box up all day. That great Gary Patterson defense loaded the box up all day, and Chuba still ran for 223 on him.
And he did it on how many carries again?
20.
Yes. That, I think, is the big difference.
20 carries, no Tylan against TCU.
Yes.
That should not be a recipe for as much success as it was on Saturday.
I mean, he's been touching the ball 30, 35 times a game this season.
And he didn't have to.
Thank the Lord, because nobody can take that much of a beating and survive the full season.
We've been saying it for a while. Touch has got to go down. And they did.
They did.
But the yardage stayed the same, which I'm happy with.
That's just him, not wanting to get hit, so he got faster.
But
that's what it looks like.
Exactly. A point I wanted to make about Tylan was the rumor mill was strong this week on Twitter about the injury, and usually where there's smoke, there's fire. They said it happened on Wednesday. The news really didn't come out officially till late Thursday, Friday. So another rumor I saw going around was that the same source that broke the injury news also claims to have said that he heard from Tylan's mouth himself that if it was a torn ACL, Tylan would be coming back for a senior season. So it's a Twitter rumor. It's college football rumors. I honestly don't trust that, and here's why. Tylan Wallace has a twin brother that also came to play football at Oklahoma State, and he had to retire because of injuries to his knees. His twin brother doesn't play football anymore because of knee injuries. Do you think Tylan's going to risk another knee injury in his college career, or do you think he's going to get healthy, go to the NFL, get his money, and hope to God and pray that his injuries stay away and he can stay healthy? But that's got his brother isn't just in the back of his mind, it's in the front of his mind. It's his twin brother. He knows what the risks are. So I think, unfortunately, I hate to say it because he's been one of my all-time favorite receivers at OSU, and the list is so long for me on that. And he just shot up the list, and I loved his career, and unfortunately, it's probably over. I hate to say it, and I hate to already have that reflection because he just got robbed of a really good season he was heading for.
Yeah, and I would say for all college athletes, that's such a hard decision to make. Once you get to your junior year, if you've had a good enough career that NFL scouts are looking at you and you have an injury, it's such a difficult balance on, are you going to gain more draft stock by coming back and playing that extra season and rehabbing and going through, and maybe your numbers look a little bit less and you drop on the board, or maybe you take a shot now and see what happens, and you're a little bit lower because they're worried about, they don't know what you're going to look like on the other side of that injury, but at least now you're rehabbing and getting paid to do it. And so I think that's where I side on. Now, look, there are some people that just want to go and they want to graduate from a school. And they are saying, hey, I signed up for this thing for 4 years. I'm going to do it. That's what I said I'm going to do. Like, let me go graduate and finish my college career, and then we'll move on to the NFL. And I respect that choice. Well, absolutely. But when it comes down to, like you're saying, Kelby, where he has seen what happens with his knee.
Yeah.
I mean, it's his twin brother. It's, and similar knee there. He knows that it can't come back after so many hits.
And I don't want to remind Poke fans and get our hopes up again, but we've had a pretty good history of guys coming back. I mean, Blackman could have gone and he came back. James Washington could have gone and he came back. Back to basketball, Marcus Smart came back for his sophomore year. I mean, I admit it too. Stillwater's a hard place to leave once you get there.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, your hours are up. You're graduated. I was like, are you sure? Because I'll stay. I'll stay here longer if you need me to, school. I would love to.
Go ahead and audit my transcript.
Yeah, I don't want to get out of here, so I get it. But, if there's $1 million waiting on the other side, probably easier to get me out of the door there. But,
definitely.
But that's my campaign for to wrap up this. So this my main point of this is my campaign for Chuba. Do I think he deserves to win the Heisman? Honestly, right now, I think yes, but without my orange glasses on too severely. But again, let's be real. The Heisman Trophy isn't awarded to the best player in college football every year. It's awarded to the best player on the best team.
Yes.
And he's not that. He's not the best on the best team in his conference. He's not on the top 3 teams in his conference. So it is what it is, but I hate that it is what it is.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, though, because this is always something that I know we've talked about it at times on this podcast even, but the Heisman, there's no really defined set of what it is. It's the given to the best player in college football. I think that's the verbiage that they have in
Their
it.
verbiage is so
It's very open to interpretation intentionally. And it's just, I think they do that to give voters a way to justify their vote regardless, so that way people aren't attacking them, because a lot of those votes are made public. And ultimately, I think that you should just look at what is this player doing and how does it compare to what we're seeing this season in college football, and how does it compare historically?
to the rest of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And
he's...
in both cases, I would say he deserves to be in that small group of whatever you want to call it, 4 or 5 people, 3. I don't know. Like, wherever he deserves to be in that group, he deserves to be in the discussion about who is going to go to New York City and be a Heisman finalist. And if he doesn't get to go, it's because so many voters have chosen to...
Because his team's record isn't great.
Right. They've chosen to interpret the award as the best, like you said, the best player on the best team, or a really good player on a really good team. Yeah, you hardly ever see anybody outside about the top 5 or 10 in the country even have a chance to win the Heisman. And I don't know if I necessarily like that. I kind of like it better where you just look straight at statistics and what they've done against other teams. And now that we have a lot more sabermetrics and you can go deep into, and you can do opponent adjusted, stats and stuff and see like, okay, well, this, if he played in the SEC, he wouldn't be running all that. It's like, well, you can actually have some metrics that give you a decent idea of what would happen here. And so I say, go with the stats and let's get Chuba to New York City.
I'm on it. I'm glad to hear that I've got some support on that.
Hey, that bandwagon's not going to be empty, at least.
Good. Let's see if our listeners feel the same way. All right, so I guess for our final segment today, we're going to talk a little NBA. Slow start to the season, to be honest. I've tried to watch as many Thunder games as I can. I kind of missed the last one. I know, Josh, you watched that one a little closer and had some thoughts. And I know we're trying to get healthy right now. Steven's been out the past few games. So what are your thoughts on the last game?
I mean, it was really interesting seeing the Thunder play a 3-guard lineup.
Yeah.
With,
Yeah.
That's playing a small ball a little bit with Danilo.
No, Steven, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see that. It kind of goes to show, like, the depth the Thunder really have. Like, we have really good pieces when you think about it. I mean, between Nerlens Noel, who I've been preaching to people about for the longest time, was a steal for us to retain him in the offseason.
I agree.
Hamidou Diallo, him.
Man, his role is evolving this year. I really like where he's headed.
Absolutely. His athleticism, getting to the rim, that aggressive slashing has been converting into buckets for the Thunder lately. So that's always good to see them kind of interchanging those parts.
Absolutely, man. I really like what they're, again, we've talked about it before. This team's going to be more fun to watch in that, there's not the pressure of win a playoff series, get to try to make a run at the title. That's not happening this year.
Right.
But this team of these players, they're young, they're fun to watch. And again, it's that development that kind of made me fall in love with the Thunder at the beginning. It's happening again.
I agree. And Josh, you're talking about that 3-guard lineup. I think those may be the Thunder's best 3 players. I mean, right now, it's got to be SGA, CP3,
and Schroeder.
He
scored, I think I just read a stat, he scored 17 in 4 straight games, and he's never done that as a member of the Thunder. So that's only one season sample size. And
so they're all 3 can handle the ball. It just looks so strange having them out there for that long stretches.
It's working.
It is. We've seen it work around the league, but is that something that you guys think that if this team stays together, we're going to see more of moving forward?
Man, I want to say yes, but I don't think this team's going to stay together. I don't think those 3 guards. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will be here 100%.
Definitely.
That's a lot.
Schroeder and CP3, I don't know that they'll be here. So, what do you think, Josh?
Well, you always look at the rumor mills, between CP3 always being on the trade block. He might be traded before the trade deadline. It's just kind of one of those wait and see kind of things. But, I mean, from the stats that CP3 is putting up recently, averaging more than 10 points a game, he's definitely building his draft stock up for his age.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm all right with it, CP3. I like the leader he's been this year. I like him on the Thunder. Again, they've been fun to watch. I'm excited to see how they keep going this season.
And I think that SGA is just soaking up everything he's saying like a sponge.
Yeah, and I love how, immediately SGA is kind of taking on the I'm going to be the guy role. I wondered how long it would take to work into that role, but, it was game 1 from the first 5 minutes after the tip-off.
Seeing him on social media over the summer, he was in and around Oklahoma City quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that gave me very positive vibes of what he was going to do. Like, he wanted to be out in the city because he knows that this could be his city. I mean, he could be the number 1 guy on the only professional sports team in Oklahoma City. And it's not going to take all that much to do it. Just go out and be in the community, first of all, and then take that role as well on the team. And so I kind of expected it a little bit to see it because I saw what he was doing in the community side, and that's what Russ always did. That was kind of his blueprint, was you'd see him out in the community, just a normal dude. You could go down to the Apple store and see Russ hanging out in there at times. And I think that works well for Oklahoma City, and it works well for that franchise in just the way that the chemistry works between the team and the players and the coaches. And so I just think it's a very positive sign that he is willing to accept that role both in the media side of things and the outward facing as well as on the court. And he's already doing it, and he's only been here playing less than a month.
Exactly. And you'll love to see that kind of stuff. So, like I said, I love the leadership role he's taken on, and I love what he's doing this year. So there's one other thing I got to talk about in the NBA, and I hate to be rude. No, I don't.
Let's be rude.
No, I don't. I'm sorry that I'm not sorry at all about this. The Golden State Warriors.
Oof,
how the mighty have fallen. Wow. Okay, so I thought a lot of people were really low on them this year. I said this on the episode last week. Charles Barkley to Klay Thompson's face said, y'all aren't making the playoffs. And this is before some injuries happened. I thought they were still going to be a playoff team. I thought they were still going to be good this year. Before the season, if you would have asked me who I would have picked as the MVP, honestly, my pick was going to be Steph. I thought Steph this year was going to come out a man on fire, prove that he's still a dominant player in the NBA, that they didn't need KD, that they'd be fine without him. They're still the same team, even though Klay's gone. They got a new D'Angelo Russell. I thought Steph was going to come out the world on fire. He breaks his hand. He goes down. Klay's out for the year. The lineup that the Golden State Warriors rolled out the other night. Let's read this to you because Draymond's out with a hurt finger. How convenient. D'Angelo Russell is out with an ankle sprain. Let's go through this starting lineup for this dynasty of the Warriors. Starting at guard, Kai Bowman. Starting at the other guard, Jordan Poole. Starting at forward, Glenn Robinson III. Starting at forward, Eric Pascal. And starting at center, Willie Cauley-Stein. I would say to the casual basketball fan, you may know one of those. And the only reason is because Willie Cauley-Stein, like, that's just a great name. Like, that's a name you remember. I would consider myself a pretty, I guess hardcore might be the right word, hardcore basketball fan. We're to three of those guys. There's two guys I have no idea who they are, where they came from. And they're starting for the Golden State Warriors, the 2-5 Golden State Warriors. And oh man, I just don't feel bad. The Jays of the death lineup, the 4 All-Stars in the starting lineup, it's over. And I'm not sad to see it go one bit.
Not even a little bit. Now, I will say this will be the only thing you'll ever hear me say positive about the Golden State Warriors is they built that dynasty for the most part through the draft,
yep.
And they made a couple of very wise trades for guys that really weren't doing it the way that they did other places. I think of Iguodala coming over and just, I mean, yeah, he was good, but he wasn't like finals MVP good like he ended up being for them anywhere else that he played. Point is, it's all over now. I mean, we can sit here and pretend that they're going to do, no, it doesn't matter. They don't have the horses left in the tank to compete in this extremely difficult Western Conference where, look, I think one of those injuries, if Draymond's out for a significant period of time or if Steph is out for a significant period of time, in a season where you don't have Klay and you're already trying to adjust to not having KD still on your team and you've lost all that depth with like Livingston now not coming off the bench. Yeah, the guy that was just like the steady hand that guided that second unit. It's like no more is or any of those pieces with you. So it was already going to be a tough sled for them. But, oh, boy, this is something different.
Worst case scenario almost for them. You knew it wasn't going to be what it was, but they're going to be a bottom feed. They're going to get a high draft pick.
Yeah.
They're going to be a bottom-feeding team this year. Steph's going to be out for 3 months. God only knows how many more nights Draymond and D'Angelo are going to get off. It seems like the Warriors know the wheels are falling off, and let's start the rebuild almost. I don't know if they're going to go that far, but they're not going to use the R word just yet.
It's like the entirety of the good luck that was supposed to come to the Warriors over the course of the last like 35 years all happened in the last 8 to 10. Yep. Just very concentrated. It was great draft pick after great draft pick after lucky injury. And I say lucky injury because we were talking before the pod. When they were having injuries, it was like a guy would go out for a month and it would give his counterpart a chance to take over the offense and feel more comfortable. And he actually would get better so that when they came back at full strength, now they're even better than they were. So I'm like, they're getting better by guys getting hurt. Meanwhile, the Thunder are over here, and every time they would start a playoff series, they'd have somebody that you weren't sure if they were going to be able to play basketball again. They'd get hurt so bad. You know, gosh, it's I can't believe it. But here's where I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't know if we're at the end of this nightmare. Because let's say that the Warriors just embrace it and say, we don't want Draymond to rush it back. We'll go ahead and keep him out for most of the season. Let him go out there and play now and again, but limit his minutes. Same thing with Steph. We're going to ease him back into the lineup. Nothing rush. He's going to, be on a minutes restriction even for weeks after he comes back because we're not playing for anything, so let's not get hurt. it's just their own way of tanking. They end up getting a very high draft pick, get somebody that's going to revamp that franchise, and next year we get the reborn, brand new Golden State Warriors with Klay Thompson coming back for a revenge tour. Steph Curry's pissed off at the world who didn't get to play a full season. You got Draymond who's just still being Draymond, and then some great rookie that they're going to stumble into because somebody else didn't want him, or they may win the draft lottery with like a 0.5% chance knowing their luck.
You see their rookie the other day, their second-round draft pick, I think I heard. I heard first round and second round, so I haven't double-checked that. But their draft pick, their rookie, went up for 34 the other night.
Oh, of course.
On his birthday. But, yeah, the Warriors, I don't feel bad. I hope this continues. I hope they continue to suck.
That's just where I'm going to put out there.
Sorry, I'm not sorry. That's all I got to say about it.
I'm going to enjoy the time between now and then when they are just at the bottom of the barrel, because when they were at the top, they were some of the most smug people on the face of the earth. Let's be honest with ourselves. It's because we're Thunder fans. It's because they killed our chances multiple times. I will actually pull that back a little bit. I have not disliked Steph Curry since I saw him play at the Lloyd Noble Center.
Oh boy!
Back when he was on Davidson.
I
couldn't stand him. He dropped like 45.
I think like 45. I was going to say it was in the 40s. I think.
Yes,
I remember that.
I was sitting there in Lloyd Noble watching some like skinny kid out there hit shots from like half court all game. And the whole time he's mean mugging everybody and laughing and smiling and like right at the crowd. I mean, and doing it in a very provocative way, the way that Steph Curry does. And you go, oh, he's just such a great player. And oh, we love the way to watch him play. No, I hated him from the second I saw him play right there. Not him personally, but him as a basketball player on the court. Could not stand that brand of cockiness. I'm not about it. I'm more of a team-first guy. He was definitely the only guy I could even tell you from Davidson ever in the history of that program. Yep. And he made it. He stood out at the time, doing the same crap that he's still doing in the NBA. So I've never been on the Curry bandwagon, and so when he came, they started getting good. That didn't really ever sit well with me. I was never on the positive train, like, oh yeah, this will be great. This is a cool team. I've always rooted against them, so I am glad to see them in their pits of misery. After I've said a few nice things about them, I got to tell you my true.
There we go.
Dark, is I guess origin story with that Warriors franchise.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for our topics this week. Again, it was episode 35. You can follow us Twitter and Instagram at VIBELAND Sports. Facebook at /VIBELAND Sports. And again, be sure to check out our poll question. Does Chuba deserve a trip to New York? I say yes. Casady says yes, and you better say yes. Just kidding. Well, I want to hear what the fans have to say about that one. So, guys, it's been a great week.
Absolutely. Great job, man. This was great.
We'll see if Todd, if we let him back after this stellar performance. No, I'm just kidding. This was nerve-wracking.
Josh, great job too, man. Having you back in front of the mic for the first time, that's it's exciting.
Absolutely, it's fun. It's fun watching guys do it.
Yeah, you feel like the training wheels are off. You ready to go?
I think I might still need the training wheels for a little while, but
baby
steps.
All righty. Well, that does it for Josh. That does it for Kelby. That does it for Casady. Thanks again for joining us for episode 35 of VIBELAND Sports, a presentation of VIBELAND Media.